So one of the most challenging things I've found to do on the lathe is the creation of chess pieces. I knew that I wanted to make a chess set at some point from hardwood, and I just really had no idea how to go about copying the same shape over and over again. For instance, in a chess set, there's 16 pawns of for both sides. There's 4 bishops, 4 knights, there's 4 rooks, there's 2 queens, 2 kings. So that's a lot of repetition and a lot of hitting at the same shapes again and again. And I'm just not that good on the lathe to really to hit all those same forms again. I kind of didn't want to do it, and I wanted to find a method that I would be comfortable with, that I could use to just copy the main lines of the chess piece. Now chess pieces they're very interesting forms because first of all, they're very small. Each one is a unique sort of sculptural form unto itself. But really the main lines of the piece are driven by round shapes, and it's something that can be accomplished on the lathe. And then you sort of add in other touches, like say for this bishop, for instance, it's got a groove here, but that's about the only real cut. Everything else is just a completely round form, and that can be accomplished on the lathe. So I'm going to take you through a system that I created, and maybe it'll be helpful to you in some way. If you're thinking of copying anything on the lathe, there's 3 essential components to this method of copying. The first one was just to simply build a platform on the lathe bed, like a big platform that the tools can be slid on. So basically what you're going to have is you're going to have a piece of wood, obviously. You're going to have the object that you want to copy clamped into a wooden form like this. I'm going to go over all these pieces as well. And then you want the cutting tool. And basically the cutting tool is set in a block, and it allows to be slid in here. And the main thing with this cutting tool is that it has a cutting head which matches up to the level of the wood, and it's in the right position. It's right directly in the middle of the spindle. It's a level, and it's sitting on a nice wide base, so it's nice and stable if you hold it down firmly. And the head and the follower is just another piece that it's sort of similar shaped to the cutting head, and these 2 things are lined up. So whatever the follower hits down here, that will copy onto your spindle. So basically you could have something as small as a chess piece. Here, it's hitting it here, and it's copying those movements up there. But it all starts with just having a smooth base. I made this out of melamine, which is very slippery. It allows for good sliding. I'll just go through the 2 cutters that I made. This one is for fine detail. It's got like a diamond head on it, and it's got the appropriate follower that's sort of shaped the same. It's been lined up to it. And I've got like a 12mm round cutter that's appropriate for like just getting rid of a lot of material. And it's got a follower that's around the same dimensions, and it is lined up vertically with it. So I'm not going to show you how to build this or anything, because it's just too crazy for me to do a build video. But effectively, the sort of the money shot of this, the key thing you have to do is you've got your platform, and then you have to build like a block or something really solid with a base that, and this thing slides. And the cutter head, the way these carbide tools work is it's meant to be directly in the center of the spindle, and it's meant to be level. And you can do that by hand, obviously, but this is actually good because it holds it firmly in that position. It holds it exactly dead center, and it holds it exactly dead level. So that's all you have to do is create a block with a base, and just have the tool just like build everything up so it gets to that key dimension, and both of them sort of hit that middle mark. And then, so there's that. You have to build it up to the correct height, and you also have to create a follower that is generally down here where your piece is, where your copying template is going to be, and it's sort of generally the same shape. So it's not like a tiny little nail or a dot or something that's going to give you too much. It's going to generally hit it in the same way. Here's a more close-up view of the cutter head, and you can see that these two things line up. This is the follower, this is the cutting head, and you'll see these in action too in a few moments. And let's take a look at the diamond head. So the other key component is, of course, the template that you're going to copy. Now this theoretically could be anything. It doesn't have to be a chess piece. It could be this whole thing could be longer, and you could copy spindles. You could just have your spindle mounted. You could have a hardboard or a plywood shape or whatever. You could have pretty much anything there, just as long as it's something for the follower to follow. Mounting a chess piece I had to figure out a way to stabilize it, but still have room on the outside to hit all the grooves and like have access to the tip. So I created this little clamping system here. This sort of, this is fixed, and it's got a nail. I drilled a hole in the top of the chess piece to hold it there, but still have access to the top. And then for the base, I just have something that sort of fits into the bottom groove that chess pieces naturally have because they have weights in the bottom. And I've got that clamped in here. So that holds it very firmly, because you don't want your template to be bouncing around. And another thing, you don't want it to be right on the ground, because there's gonna be a lot of dust and debris, and you want it to be away from that, so the follower it doesn't get distorted by just sheer debris down there. All right, so now I'm going to show you my alignment method that I use to align the item to be copied, in this case a chess piece, with the depth or the spindle. What method I came up with was I measured the thinnest part of the chess piece, and it ended up being about 0.4 inches. And then I found a dowel that was about the same size. This is about 0.4 inches. So I assume that if I bring my the follower to the lowest part, or sorry, the thinnest part on the chess piece, and it also meets the spindle, then I'll have a perfect copy effectively. So what I do is I line that up. These 2 points are aligned, the cutter head and the follower. I line it up, and then I look over it visually this way, just to make sure the piece is straight. Then I can take it away, and then I'm going to secure it in the back. The clamping mechanism here on the back with two Bessie low-profile clamps, and I think I'll be good to go after that. So I'll just take you through what my general cutting procedure is. There's a lot of material to be hogged out in the thinner parts, not so much here, and especially over here where it starts to taper down to the crown of the chest piece. So I'm going to use this 12mm round cutter, and I've got a follower on the bottom that matches that, and that'll hit that right in the center of the follower will hit it right in the center of the chest piece. And I'm just going to use that to rough in the shape, because it's a little bit silly just to go for it with this. This will be the second step, doing the tapered diamond cutter, and that will follow along, and hopefully will give me all the fine detail of the piece. I'm putting a lot of pressure down here because I don't want this thing to flip forward, because it really doesn't have anything holding it down, so it's just me holding it down. Okay, I've got quite a bit of stuff out there, so I'm going to switch tools now. First, I'm going to vacuum because I don't want there to be any debris clogging the follower. But I think it's floating out enough that it doesn't really get clogged easily. If it was down here, it would definitely get clogged with stuff. So let's vacuum that out. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and do a fine pass with the diamond head. It's got a slight taper on it, which is good. That's what we want. I can feel this one. I can feel this one skipping, and you don't want it to skip and jerk, and especially these sections. Especially these sections down here where it's like really delicate, and it's almost like a finial or something. You've got it's just tight work in there, so you got to go really slow and approach with caution on those ones. Okay, good. Now let's check how one-to-one this is. And I get the calipers. I'm not expecting any miracles here. Ooh, it's a little bit thinner. So it's 3965. Yeah, and then our actual piece is 4160. So I misjudged slightly, but still it's pretty close. It is very close. Okay, so that is that's looking pretty good. The other, you know, I seem to have missed this little ridge here somehow. I don't know how it missed that. It should have transferred it. You can tell that some of the shapes are slightly different, but yeah, I mean, it should, effectively, if I wanted to make a bunch of these, they'll all should pretty much look like this. I don't know. I tried to make a bunch of pawns before, and okay, so the other telltale sign of the bishop is this little notch here in the front. I have no idea how I will do that. Maybe just use a handsaw or something. I don't have a chisel that big to get to waste it out. I have no idea. This is very difficult. But anyway, we've got this main part done. So we have some sort of resemblance to a chess piece. Okay, so the last thing to do is to part it off, because obviously we don't want the tenon or the base. We want a nice clean cut. So basically I've created this tool. This is a carbide saw blade, and I've got this really hinky. Okay, now I've got my the carbide parting tool all set up. This thing, I don't know, I really got to rework this thing. It really has a tendency to jump forward. I got to put a lot of pressure on the back. It doesn't really move. It'd be better if it was just on rails just going in and was really solid. But we'll try it at really slow speeds and see what happens. All right, it's free. Okay, so let's see how it stacks up against the plastic piece that it was copied from. We know that it's from measuring it with the calipers that it's not exactly 1-to-1. The heights look about the same. The bases match pretty good. Again, this notch, I just have no idea how to execute it yet. Maybe a jig on the table saw, who knows? Now the very last thing you have to do is in the bottom of these pieces. Right now it's too light, and you want it to have some weight so it doesn't get knocked over easily on the board. So in the bottom of these pieces, it's recessed and there's a weight added. So I'd have to figure out a little drilling jig, go in there with a Forstner bit, drill that out, glue a piece of metal or some lead weight in or something, and add a little bit of felt. So there's a lot of components to this. I've already done it. I made a queen before, and I drilled very badly into the bottom, and I added a little bit of a steel bar in there, and that brought it up to a good weight. So yeah, lots of little functions. Each chess piece is its own little unique sculpture, pretty much. So anyway, just to get the basic main line of the shape, really that's I think that's a good method. And if you have the right type of wood, if you have a good hardwood, then really, as long as you take your time, you shouldn't have any problems. And that's it for this method, basically. Before I did the bishop today, I also did previously a bunch of pawns, and I successfully made 8 copies of a pawn. Now they're all pretty much generally the same size. There's some slight imperfections in some of them, or some slight variances. So I wouldn't say it's a perfect photocopier of form, but you know, it's pretty close. And I think maybe with your own expertise, you could add other levels of perfection to this. But I think what works about this system is that these tools are just really made perfectly for spindle work, or just for lathe work generally. Before this, I tried a router method, and it was just a real mess. I thought that would be the key to doing this type of things, but it was just too bulky. And this is a little bit more streamlined, and you're really playing to the strengths of these tools with this method. So if you're looking for a way to to copy spindles or any shape. Generally, it doesn't have to be a chess piece. Obviously, it could be something much larger, smaller, a finial, spindle, a leg. It could be just a straight taper. I've got lots of plans for this system, so this might be helpful, and it's really beyond this. You know, obviously, building a platform is cheap, and beyond just the price of these tools, which I got for about $50 on Amazon. Really, just you're building these blocks out of scrap, and it's not that expensive to develop it. You just got to spend a couple of days, like getting all the heights correct, and that's it. And then you're good to go. You have a system that can copy things into the future. So yes, I hope that was helpful in some way, and see you next time.